What's going on today, Internet? Selfish here with Retrospect. Today we're going to take a look at the TrimUI Smart Pro S. That's right, there is an S at the end of this device, and that is because it's the updated version of the TrimUI Smart Pro, one of my favorite handhelds to recommend to people. There are a couple of things that were kind of blendering on the original TrimUI Smart Pro, as perfect as it may seem to most people, that people have really wanted to get fixed. And in this version of the TrimUI Smart Pro, on top of getting more horsepower, they also addressed some of those issues. Let's take a look. Before we get too far into it, I do want to start off by saying this was provided to me from the TrimUI store for the purpose of a fair and honest review. They have no input on what goes into this video, and all opinions are of my own. Now, let's dig into this. All right, let's take a look at the TrimUI Smart Pro S. I've been really excited about this. I'm a huge SmartPro fan. And to give it a little bit more horsepower, but keep that same form factor is really what I'm looking for, a true upgrade. We're seeing a couple of these recently, some good actual true upgrades. But let's see what comes in the box. This one here did come from our friends over at the TrimUI store. So thank you guys for sending that on over to me to take a look at it. They also did send a memory card, the 64 gig memory card. I don't know why I'm playing with this. Let's move that out of the way. Looks like they gave me a case, which is looking pretty nice. And then we do have the device here as well. All right. Looks like it's got a nice little cellophane wrap on it. So we will take a look at this bad boy. And we will see what this is all about. A boot. I'm from Minnesota. You're supposed to say a boot, not about. Let's see what this is all about. Okay, so let's look at this box here real quick. It looks very similar to the original TrimUI Smart Pro. The Pro S here does have a couple extra things, including adding the Pro S to it. We did get the yellow colorway. We'll go through the specs here in just a minute. Looks like there's a piece of paper in here. This is going to have all of your buttons and everything on it. How to do a firmware update. Pretty cool. We'll move this out of the way. We do have an origami accordion. This here does have all your info on it, so pretty good stuff there. Pretty much everything how to get it started and how to play. And then we do have a Type A to Type C charger. And here is our device. I'm really excited to see this. I kind of want to know what the yellow looks like because they always look different in person than they do in the pictures. And this looks a lot like the yellow from the Miu Mini V4. Oh, that's a beautiful looking device. It's very much the same, but they did add a couple of buttons or a couple of things, including a home button here, which you're going to need on this device. You didn't need it on the last one. And other than that, she still has our function button down here. They even kept with the plug here where the HDMI was supposed to be on the first one, never came out, and now we still have this HDMI plug here on the bottom. It even says TrimUI on it, so that's pretty interesting. We got our charging hole down here. We do have our host hole here for when you want to use like controllers and things on it. We'll go through the device here real quick, and then we'll move on from there. All right, let's get into the I/O here real quick like we always do right here at the beginning. And of course, we are going to start at the top. Almost lost it. It's a little slippery in my hands, apparently. On the top here, we do have our shoulder and trigger buttons. They are stacked. They do have a very short throw. So you're not getting anything analog here. In fact, I believe these are considered HallEffect triggers. Somebody down in the comments, you can double check me on that one, but I'm pretty sure these are going to be HallEffect triggers. We do have our volume up and down right over here. We do have a host out C hole. We also do have a home button, which is new to this device, and then we do have a power button for it. On the back here, we do have some grates here and kind of on the back top area up here along this slant, and those are used for cooling. Processor definitely could use the cooling, and so it's nice to see that they've incorporated cooling into this particular device. On the right and the left, there is nothing. On the bottom down here, we do have that function button. Now this, on the original one, kind of functioned as a switch to up your overclock speed. We'll take a look and see if that's the case here. It did keep that HDMI port that never had an HDMI put into it. I'm not sure why they kept this port here, and they still covered it up, but now the little cover says TrimUI on it. We do have the DC Type-C hole here for charging, and we also do have a memory card hole. On top of that, we do have a 3.5 jack for listening to your audio tunes, and a mic right here to the right. On the front here, we do have a D-pad, which feels nice, feels very similar to the original TrimUI Smart Pro here on the TrimUI Smart S. We do have our face buttons here, which do have a short travel, and they are very responsive. Oddly enough, the B button is shorter than the other ones. I can see that now. I don't feel it so much, and I'm not sure if you'll be able to see it on camera here, but the B button here is actually inset more than the rest of the buttons. Yeah, you can kind of see it there on camera, which is interesting. All right. Then we also do have our menu button and start and select right here. And the question we have about these sticks. Now, these are HallEffect this time around. They do look and feel similar to the ones in the original TrimUI Smart Pro, but they are a HallEffect version. And these ones, they click. I don't know if you can hear that, but they do click. So we now do have L3 and R3, something I know a lot of people were missing on the original TrimUI Smart Pro. Let's fire this up real quick, and while we do that, we will go through the specs of the device, and then we will talk a little bit more about it on the back end. Now, as far as the TrimUI Smart Pro S goes here, it is still running a Linux operating system. It does have a 4.96-inch IPS display, which has a resolution of 720 by 1280. Its processor is the all-winner A523 at 2 GHz, and its GPU is the Mali G57MC1 at 740 MHz. There is 1 GB of LPDDR4X RAM, and it does have 8 gigs of onboard storage, along with the ability to add a memory card. Lots of different I/O and possibilities with this particular handheld. And today's going to be more of a first look video, and then we'll come back and we'll circle around here shortly once we get a little bit better feel for the device. I just got this in my mailbox a couple of hours ago. Other than charging it and just testing out a couple of games to make sure it worked, I haven't got to spend a whole lot of time with it yet, but it already feels right at home. It really does feel like I'm playing with the original TrimUI Smart Pro all over again, and there's already a lot to love about it. Now, with the A523 processor on here, we should be able to play games like God of War at like 2 to 2.5 times the normal resolution, which is pretty cool. They'll be playing on a PAL ROM around 50 FPS, but that's pretty awesome in order to be able to get extra performance out of games like God of War that everybody is in love with. Part of that also is the Mali G57MC1 GPU. It does do a pretty good job of powering through some of these things. It would have been nice to have seen 2 gigs of RAM in this updated version, but we know how much RAM costs right now, and that probably would make this handheld unaffordable. The triggers in this particular device here, the TrimUI Smart Pro S, or the TSP-S, right? TrimUI Smart Pro S, yes. The TSP-S does have vibrating triggers built right into it, which is pretty sweet, actually. And then, yes, these are HallEffect joysticks, and yes, they do have L3 and R3. You are going to get support for libraries like GBA, PS1, PSP, pretty much the important ones. A lot of ones that you could touch with the original TrimUI Smart Pro, that here you're actually going to be able to get a lot of those games at 2 times the resolution, which is going to be a big win for TrimUI Smart Pro fans. You're not losing that feel and the dependability of the original TrimUI Smart Pro, but you are gaining some horsepower, which is what I like to call a true upgrade. Something that we don't get a lot in this business. Usually they just create a whole new model and call that the next upgrade or the next iteration of the device. Here we are getting a true upgrade, and anytime that we do get one of those, I like to call it out. This is only one of maybe 3 we saw all year that got true upgrades, and this is a very welcome thing because this has been such a popular handheld. It would have been a shame to have them completely revamp the entire unit. Though they could have maybe added a little bit of ergonomics, it still has this very flat back on it. But, you know, then we're starting to go into the territory of changing the device too much. Another big advantage that we're going to get here from the A523 is battery life. This is a chip that's very efficient, and you should be able to get close to all-day battery life depending on what you're playing. That is going to be a huge advantage here with this particular SoC that we're going to get over the original TrimUI Smart Pro. I'm going to go ahead and say it because I just brought it up, but TrimUI is trying to call this an ergonomic device. I'm going to have to disagree with them on that because there's really nothing real ergonomic about this. It is comfortable to hold into your hands. I don't have any problem with that. It feels similar to like holding like a PSP, but it's definitely not ergonomic. In fact, these tend to be my PSP replacements, and this is so much better that I'll be able to play PSP at even a higher resolution and be able to up my frame rates. I'm kind of excited about that, to be able to play my PSP games with these updates. I was correcting myself to say that these aren't Hall triggers, but they actually are. But if you've ever used an Xbox controller, the big actual seller of these isn't necessarily the HallEffect triggers. It is the fact that they have a vibrate feature. Similar to the Xbox controllers, these have vibrating triggers. And with this A532 SoC, we also should see about a 250 times faster processing rate. That seems ridiculous to me, that's like the number they're throwing out there, but that is the number that's being thrown out there, and we will test it. This is going to be, again, more of a first look video, but we will get into testing this processor out and seeing what it really can do. Now, with all that, I'll do a little gameplay here just to test it out, and we'll circle back. Let's play some games, but first, we must remove what appears to be plastic on here that doesn't have like a tabby. There's no plastic tabby. Well, I don't want to scratch the screen. Apparently, this was put in before the screen was laid because this seems to be underneath the screen. underneath the edging. That is not cool. Oh, there we go. Ooh, satisfying. Now that we got some gameplay underneath the belt, I can say that this is definitely a far more superior device than the original TrimUI Smart Pro, which is great because they made one of my handhelds even better. And that is something that I do like to see when they are doing this. Now, I haven't got to get real deep into this yet. I've only had it for a few hours. I do have a lot of testing to do. So stick around to the channel here in the next few days, probably a week. I will be putting up a full in-depth review of the TrimUI Smart Pro S. But if you were to ask me today if this is a device I can recommend, I definitely can. I was always able to recommend the device prior to this, and this one here is definitely a higher quality device than the original TrimUI Smart Pro. The build quality feels pretty much identical, though I do have that weird problem where my B seems a little sunk in. But other than that, the build quality here is phenomenal. The B problem doesn't really actually get in my way. It's not even a problem. It's just me being really nitpicky. But everything else on here feels really good. I don't have a lot of complaints. I wish they would have maybe gone with an even more powerful processor. It would have been cool to see TrimUI go from Allwinner to like Snapdragon. I know they're never going to do that. It just would have been kind of neat to see something where we could have got graphics drivers. But really, for what you're going to be purchasing this device for, and for the price that it is, you're really not looking for a device you're going to be using those graphic drivers on anyways. So I think that you're coming out ahead here. Now, again, this was provided to me from my friends over at the TrimUI store. There will be a link down in my thingamabob for you to go pick one up. That does help the channel as well. So if you want to go grab one from that link down there in the thingamabob, and I would really appreciate it. And I'm sure the TrimUI store would appreciate it as well for providing this device so that I was able to look at it for you. If you're going to ask if I can recommend this, again, I can. I don't have any big takeaways for what I don't like about it yet because I've used the TrimUI Smart Pro so much. This feels so much just like a new iteration of that device. It doesn't really feel any different other than the increase in performance. And so I'm going to need to go through it a little bit more just to kind of tackle some of the differences. Maybe we'll even try some custom firmware, see if we can get cross-mix to work on here, stuff like that. And then I'll come back here very soon and we will do a deep dive into that true performance of the device and what you really can expect from it, on top of it just being a better version of the TrimUI Smart Pro with the S tag at the end. But the Type S here, or the TSP-S, whatever you want to call it, it really is a well-built machine like all other TrimUIs. And in fact, I do have another video coming out from the TrimUI store, which was coming out before this, and then this arrived today. I was actually working on editing it when this showed up, and it will be on some new iterations of the TrimUI Brick Hammer that I got to take a look at here last week. So I will be putting that video up shortly after this one, probably, definitely sometime here in the near future, but for sure look for the deep dive into the TrimUI Smart Pro S because I really love these devices. So I should be able to find some things that I don't love about them too. Oh, and if you're wondering why this video is formatted all weird and different than all my other ones, it's because I'm in the middle of changing into my new studio. Well, it used to be my music studio, now going to be YouTube studio. In between there, it was somebody else's bedroom. So now I'm trying to convert everything back. So it's going to be a little weird here for the next week or two while the sound bounces off the walls and I figure out how to, get everything tuned in a little bit. Hey, it is what it is. It's only going to get better in the end. But that's all I got for today. Don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, share this video with your friends because sharing is caring. It also helps grow the channel, and that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to reach a wider audience, so anything you guys can do to help, that would be much appreciated. Also, if you want to take a look at one of these videos up here on the screen, Google picked them for you, so they know you're going to like them. You might not think so, but Google says they fit within your algorithm, so you'd be surprised. I am always surprised when Google puts stuff up, and I'm like, I have no interest in that, and I do. I really like the stuff they put up, so check out one of these videos up here, and do me a favor and comment, rate, and subscribe to those videos as well. I don't know what they are. They're automatic, but that's all I got for today. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.